Hello my fellow speakers, this is Brian, the Speaker for the Dead, coming to you tonight with a new video, mainly because there's just something on my mind that's been bothering me for a while, and I haven't really said anything about it because I don't like to do rants. I try and be more positive on my channel and look for what will make things better and help us uplift pop culture and get back to where we want to go. It's like this. It's like somewhere along the line in our entertainment, there was a fork in the road. And we took the wrong path. And when I say we, I don't mean we, I mean Hollywood. Movie producers, creators, actors. Somewhere along the line, they went down the wrong road. Okay? Unlike Robert Frost in his poem where he says he took the road less traveled and it has made all the difference, the morons in Hollywood, they turn down the path everybody's going and are chasing popularity that doesn't exist. So they're not making a difference. They're not following that road not taken. They're not blazing the new trail of greater creativity, higher vision, better acting, higher quality, all that stuff. They're going down the same roads that they've always gone down, and so they're always going to get what they've always got. And quite honestly, I am sick to death of it. Now, I'm going to talk about something specific tonight, and that's Star Trek. Okay, but this branches into every area of entertainment. Whether it's new stuff, old stuff, repurposed stuff. But I'm going to use Star Trek as my primary example. Now let me tell you why. Star Trek for me is the epitome of science fiction. It is everything encompassed all into one. Now I know there are people who aren't Star Trek fans and they're Star Wars fans and they like this more than they like that. Star Trek for me is my first science fiction love. It's what woke me up to how great science fiction could be as a kid. And it made me branch out. It gave me a better vocabulary. It helped me think about things I'd never thought of before, gave me views and opinions, and made me want to be a scientist, made me want to be all these great things. Makes you wonder how I ended up a truck driver, right? I don't know. Mainly by not choosing some of the better paths that Star Trek directed me on. Somewhere along the line I must have saw an episode of Space Truckers and yeah, it ruined me. Anyway, I love Star Trek. Let me tell you how much I love Star Trek. Anybody knowing me growing up had to know I loved Star Trek. I watched it all the time. When I was in school, I did book reports on Star Trek. I did papers on Star Trek. I did a report one time on Gene Roddenberry. That's how much I love Star Trek. Now, in the 8th grade in my school, we would do something called an oration, which you had to write like a 5-page paper, single-spaced, and in 8th grade, at the time, yeah, that was a lot. But not only did you have to do that, you had to get up and give that as a speech in front of the entire 8th grade. Which, in my school, it was a small school, so it wasn't a lot, but it was about 60 kids, all in one room. Now, I know, I'm a little school from Idaho, so don't judge me. I know some of you people are like, I had 1,000 people in my class. Okay, I'm sorry for you. But we had to do this thing. I chose Star Trek. And I talked about Star Trek and Gene Roddenberry and, I mean, everything. And I got the snickers and I got the laughs and oh, the nerd. The funny thing was, though, in school, I didn't really have a group that I belonged to. I went between the groups. I wasn't a cool kid and I wasn't an unpopular kid. I was the in-the-middle kid. And I could kind of pass through all those groups given any situation. And, the cool kids would accept me sometimes, and the not popular kids accepted me, and the middle of the road kid. I mean, I just kind of floated through high school, being able to be in most groups. And I liked it that way because I could be everybody's friend. And I didn't really have to choose sides in the popularity war. And I liked that. But nobody judged me really that harshly for my Star Trek fandom. And I don't know why. Maybe because I wasn't too overzealous about it. I just was kind of zealous about it for the most part. But like I said, I remember doing reports where in one of my English classes, we had to do a report. And I did mine on Star Trek 3. And actually showed as part of the thing, mine got picked and I had to do a presentation. And I actually showed parts of the movie for Star Trek 3. The battle scene between Krug and the Bird of Prey and the Enterprise. And I loved that scene for the interaction, the character. And that's the thing I love about Star Trek. It is creativity and genius in writing, design, production value. I mean, it is the epitome of how you do great science fiction. Now, I know some people don't like it as much as they like other types of science fiction because it is way more intellectual. You have to be paying attention. It's not a jump in there, pew, 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 laser beams and light swords. But I love that too. But I loved Star Trek because it was brilliant. It made me think. It made me ponder. It made me wonder about things. It made me curious about stuff that I probably wouldn't have thought about otherwise as a kid from a rural town in the middle of nowhere. I mean, I spent most of my days baling hay and feeding animals and gathering eggs, and yeah, I know, right? Hick. That was me. But because of Star Trek, it wasn't me. So I hold a very special place in my heart for Star Trek. And to see what they're doing to it now enrages me in ways I can't even express. I've been mulling this over for over a week to do this video because every time I started trying to do it, I started swearing. And I go out of my way to not swear on my channel. I go out of my way to try and not swear in life because I don't want to be that guy. But it enrages me so bad whenever I start thinking about what they've done to Star Trek over the last few years. Now, I know what you're thinking. What a weirdo. I mean, he's getting so upset over a TV show. Star Trek's not just a TV show. It's a phenomenon. You go into the middle of the jungles in Africa, and I'll bet you people still know who Captain Kirk was. Just like they'd know who Luke Skywalker was. Just like they'd know who the Terminator was. All you have to go is just, I mean, these are cultural icons. These are part of our modern mythologies. Now, I listen a lot to Doomcock. Now, I don't always agree with Doomcock, but I do agree with him on the fact that these are important things in our culture. So when you trash those things, when you devastate those series, you devastate parts of people's lives. You tear away from them chunks of what make them who they are. Now, say that's ridiculous. Well, think of it like this. If you're not a science fiction fan, think of it like this. Say tomorrow I show up in your favorite football team. Dallas Cowboys, St. Louis Cardinals, whoever, whatever. Seattle Seahawks. I come to you. Yeah, I know, a nerd that knows football team names, right? I come and I buy your franchise and I move it to another city and I fire all of your favorite players and I bring in hacks and losers who couldn't catch a football or or kick a field goal or run a down to save their life. And you watch the once great team that you spent every Sunday watching their games. You followed every person's career in that team. You knew how many yards this guy or that guy ran in the last 75 games because you followed him since he was a newcomer, since he was in college. Now, what would you think about me if I came into your football franchise and destroyed it? Took away everything you loved about your favorite team. What would you think about me as an owner, as the new owner of that team? Yeah, you'd be plotting my death, and rightly so. Now, not literally. Okay, maybe literally in some people's cases, but you shouldn't be like that. That's a little too far. But it's like that. Pick the thing in your life that you love more than anything else. You love Harlequin romance novels. You love Little House on the Prairie. You love Murder, She Wrote, Angela Lansbury, Blue Bloods. You love something. Pick something that is a huge part of who you are as an individual. Now, I come in and tear what you love apart. Make it something that you don't recognize, and then I berate you for not liking what I've done. What do you mean? Well, I just changed it. It's still as great as it ever was. Don't you? I mean, you're just incels. You're just sports losers who don't know how great my sports ideas are. I'm making a better team. My team's full of love and charity and kindness, not meanness and brutality. And I mean, we're not going to hurt people to win the game. Most sports fans would look at you and go, then why the hell are you playing for? If you're not there to win. Now you know what it's like to be me and be a Star Trek fan. And that's what I would say to these people. All these people who've come in and are new fans of what they've done to my childhood. The loves that I have had since I was a kid. They've come in and taken away my team. They have destroyed my mythologies, my mythos, the characters, the players in your case, or whatever. They've taken that all away from me, and now, to add insult to injury, they're berating me for not liking what horror that they've perpetrated upon something I love. Discovery, I won't even watch it because of what is in it. Now, some people say, how do you know you don't like it if you haven't watched it? Because I don't need to eat a crap sandwich to know I'm not going to like that. I'm not going to like it. I followed other people, sad, poor, devastated people who've done reviews and have watched that show. And I've seen their reactions. Now, knowing how much I love Star Trek, that I could play Star Trek trivia forever and never get tired of it. Now, I'm not saying I am the ultimate expert on all things Star Trek. Okay? I don't know every character. I can't name you every episode. I can't tell you every single detail. But most of it, yeah, I could hang in there with the best of them. I know, some of you would think that's sad, but I also think it's sad when you know how many rushing yards so-and-so Steven had in his entire career of football. But everybody has that thing that they love, that thing that makes them what they are, or makes up a huge part of what they are. Now, there's huge aspects of my life that don't touch anything near Star Trek. But Star Trek helped me learn lessons when I was a kid, as much as my religion did, as much as my family did. It was a huge part of my life that taught me the differences between right and wrong. It taught me that you need to question absolute beliefs. Anytime you believe something absolutely, you need to step back and go, is this the right thing? And that's what great science fiction does. It makes you question. It makes you learn how to think. It's just like great school. Great education teaches you how to think, not what to think. But in our culture today, that's gone. That's gone. You are taught what to think and why to think it. Not how to think and how you get to that conclusion. It is so sad and destructive to our culture. And I think it's being done on purpose. I think they're destroying every single foundational thing that we've built our lives on, because they can't leave any of that stuff intact and get where they want to go. They're tearing down our political systems. They're tearing down our pop culture. They're tearing down our music. They're tearing down everything and then berating us for not liking the destruction. Now understand, I'm not opposed to them doing new things, better things, making things cooler, telling bigger, more elaborate stories, trying new special effects, doing great things. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Because if I did, I'd hate Star Trek The Next Generation because it wasn't Star Trek the original series. And I would have hated Star Trek The Next Generation because it wasn't Deep Space Nine, or because Deep Space Nine wasn't Voyager, or Enterprise, or whatever. I didn't mind those things, even though each one was something kind of different than the last one. Because it was still Star Trek. It still held to Gene Roddenberry's vision. And that's another thing. I've been watching a lot of live streams and participating in a lot of different groups and stuff, and I've had people clap back at me. Now, the guy I'm going to talk about, I'm not going to name by name, but I'm a follower of his. He's a follower of mine. Subscriber, I guess I should say. There was a discussion about Star Trek Picard, which, once again, is not Star Trek. Okay? It's STURP. It's what I like to... It's pardon me. S.P.A.T. Isn't that crazy? I had this all thought out in my head. Now I can't even think of the letters. S.P.A.S.T. SPART. Stuff posing as Star Trek. Like spam, something posing as meat. It's like that with Star Trek now. Something posing as Star Trek. That's all we have left. Because what we're getting is not Star Trek. This new Picard, he's not Captain Picard. He's not the guy we knew from Star Trek The Next Generation. Not even close. Not even close. He looks like him, sounds like him, and yet doesn't sound like him. Now, is the show just terrible? No. Which is almost worse. Because it makes you look at that and go, you could have done something awesome. And this is what you did. It's like handing paints to Michelangelo, and instead of him giving you the Sistine Chapel, which you know he can do that level of work, and he hands you back a finger painting, and you just go, you just painted this, and now you're handing me this. Why? And he's just like, because I like to subvert expectations. I don't like to ever do the same thing twice. You mean like quality and beauty and amazing artistic vision? And yes, I could only do that for so long. I'm going to turn it over to my cousin Steve. He bought Michelangelo's painting and Gifts Emporium, my business. I'm going to turn it over to him, and he's got a whole new vision now. Anyway, but I had this conversation, and I was commenting on this live stream, and the guy who was running the live stream was talking about Star Trek, and I just said, current Star Trek is not the vision that Gene Roddenberry had. And this guy kind of clapped back at me and goes, well, Gene Roddenberry wasn't even that great. His first pilot episode for the original series got canceled. So he's not even that, his vision doesn't even count. Now, if he'd have been in the same room with me, there would have been screaming at that point. Because like I said, I've done reports on Gene Roddenberry. I've read about the man's life. Now, I don't know every detail, but I know Gene Roddenberry. Almost as good as actually knowing the guy. Because I've watched the documentaries, I've read the books on him, I've studied the guy. You could say that's sad, but he is someone who is a creative giant to me. He went to the networks and was trying to convince them to let him do a science fiction show in the era of Westerns, when Bonanza and all that kind of stuff was, you know, How Green Is Your Valley, or whatever. It was the Western era. That's what was making money. That's what was big on TV. And the networks didn't want to hear it. So he told them, okay, I'm going to do Star Trek, which is going to be wagon train to the stars. That's how he sold it to the network. So they let him do a pilot. And he did the pilot, The Cage. Which, if you've seen the original pilot, The Cage, which I have, it's not wagon train to the stars. Not even close. It's cerebral. It's in depth. It is a cool story about the power of the mind and the power of imagination. It is awesome. In fact, it's so good that they took it because the network wouldn't let them use that, which that guy's correct. That pilot was rejected, but not because it was bad, not because Gene didn't know his own vision, and not because he was stupid, but it was because they wanted Western. So he had to retool it, and he changed that, and the Jeffrey Hunter, who played Captain Christopher Pike, they didn't feel like he was doing the job they wanted him to do. He was too bland, he was too mediocre, he wasn't trying to, you know, so they brought in William Shatner, who was somebody who brought passion and creativity to the role and was ready to do whatever it took to make this show a success. And that's when it took off. They liked that pilot because they used the more like gunslinger of the universe kind of thing. Captain Kirk was very much that, wrangle people in, tell them how it is, and the original Star Trek is much more rough and tumble than what we got in the later Star Treks. Because of that, it was what was popular at the time. But it was still Star Trek. It was still cerebral. It was, you had to pay attention. You couldn't just sit there and go, duh. You had to pay attention to the story to know what was going on. And Gene Roddenberry cast black people in the show, Asians, women. He had the first woman first officer. And that's the other thing that the networks didn't like. Gene's vision was so far ahead into the future that the network people couldn't conceive of it and thought it'd be terrible and nobody liked this show because it's got black people and women and stuff in it. Because Gene Roddenberry didn't care about that. He saw a future where we all lived together in peace and that we had finally overcome all the stupidity that humanity's capable of. He gave us one of the first bright visions of the future in a science fiction show. Now, there had been others that had done it, but nobody did it like Gene did. Where humanity became the focal point of a huge, vast interstellar alliance of planets. That humanity was the glue that held them together. Think about that. That vision for something like that. Nobody had ever done anything like that. Not that way. And it all started with the voyages of one ship and its crew. And it spawned 50 years of great television and creative writing and amazing stories taking us all over this universe, all over our galaxy. Total nerd. I know that's what you're thinking. Total nerd. And I'm okay with that. I am. Because I'm so many other things too. The Star Trek is part of what makes me who I am. And it makes a lot of us what we are. It's a huge part of us. So to have it destroyed and torn apart by fools and idiots who are only trying to use it as a vehicle to make money, to push political agendas of the day, to destroy other people, to tear down instead of to build up, is a bastardization of everything Gene Roddenberry ever wanted for his show. See, this is the anger. You can probably see my face is getting red. So to have somebody who's a Johnny-come-lately come into my fandom and tell me I'm wrong, that I don't understand Star Trek, is maddening. I've been watching Star Trek since I was 7 or 8. I was born in the early 70s and started watching it as soon as I was old enough to know what Star Trek was, because my older brothers watched it. And at first I hated it. But it didn't take very long till I understood why they liked it. Because you're a kid, I'm the cartoons. Once I got that past that and saw what Star Trek was, and it was off to the races. That's what Star Trek means to us, to me and millions of others out there. So to have it bastardized and destroyed and torn apart like it is, and along with so many other great franchises, Star Wars, same thing's happening to it. Doctor Who, which I'm not a fan of Doctor Who, but I feel bad for what's happening to their show right now. Terminator, Aliens, all of these great franchises that have been destroyed because foolish, idiotic people got involved in them that only cared about money. That only cared about money. I don't have a problem with them caring about money. But you know what makes good money, or makes a lot of money? Good shows. Good writing, good acting, good directing, good effects, good everything. But you cannot build a show around special effects and have no story, no character development, no plot, no arcs. And that's what we're getting now. And we're being told, eat it, eat it. It's not a poop sandwich. It's brilliant. It's prime rib. It's steak. It's not. It's garbage. And I'm going to stand up against it. And I'm going to fight it every step of the way. Now, you can say, you're just being negative. No, I want great Star Trek. I want great Star Wars. I want great football, where people don't kneel and disparage our national anthem. I want people to stop hating other people. I want people to stop trying to tear something away from someone else because they're jealous. I want the world Gene Roddenberry saw. Not the one that these fools like Kurtzman and J.J. Abrams are trying to give us now. That's not Gene Roddenberry. That is not the vision. And these fools aren't creative or smart enough to go create their own things to do that. They have to steal other people's work and try and use that as a vehicle to push their own ideals and to make a quick buck by making it flashy and edgy and saying the F word and lots of stunts and action, which I love that stuff too. But if that's all it is, no story, no character development, it's stupid. So I hope you'll join me to save our great franchises, help find what's good, keep what's good, and help me get rid of that stuff that's bad. Help us kick the fools out of these creative positions. Don't support this stuff when it's bad. You don't have to be negative about it, but don't support it. Walk away. Make them lose money on it till they'll go, hey, you know, what were we doing back when this was making money, when people loved this and talked about it at the water cooler? Let's do that. That's where the money really is. And that's what we've got to do. So, no, I don't like Star Trek Picard. I don't like Star Trek Discovery. I don't like the J.J. Abrams films. I mean, the first one was okay. It wasn't Star Trek, but it was okay. It was stuff posing as Star Trek even back then. So let's move forward. Let's find something better. Let's do great things, and let's stop supporting the crap that isn't what made this stuff great. Don't let these people destroy our pop culture. Don't let them tear down what we love. Let's start building up that stuff from the ground level. Making our own films, making our own content. That's why I'm on YouTube. So I hope you like this video. Please subscribe and share. Sorry about being in the truck, but I'm late out this week. So I hope you enjoy this. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think we're on the wrong track? Do you think we're on the right track? Please don't tell me that you love Picard. If you do, that's great. More power to you. I wish no ill on anybody. I just want what I love to be back. And trust me, if you like Picard now, if you like Star Trek Discovery, you would love the real stuff. The real stuff is so much better. It's not fruit pilaf. It's steak and potatoes. It's the good stuff. Let's bring it back. Talk to you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye now.